Hi, everyone. I am here to lead you through communion, but before I do that, I hope you'll indulge me just a little story. It's a story about the greatest disruption that I ever encountered in my life back in 2011, in which in July I was fired from my job. In June I was fired from my job. In July I was broken up with, and in August the rectors of the church I was going to, who had been there for 20 years, announced they were leaving. And so in a span of 3 months, a lot of certainty in my life was gone. And what's important to note is that after the rectors decided to leave the church, over 50% of the congregation left with them. You see, to them, there was no church without Mother Ellen and Father John. And even then, I just kind of thought, but what did you think Mother Ellen and Father John were doing, were bringing to you? We're gonna miss Jonathan. We love him. We wouldn't have this church without him, but I think even he would admit, if this church is successful, which I think it is, I think we can all agree on that, it's because we are vessels for Christ. Because we are a community. It's just pretty obvious of why there's a similarity between the word community and the word communion, because of how it's all made up with all of us. The older I get, the more I realize how profound that movie Inside Out from Pixar is. It seems like it's a kid's movie at first, until you realize there are no moments in life in which there is just a single emotion attached to it. We can grieve that Jonathan is stepping down, and we can be joyful that we are gaining Venida. We can be joyful that we still have a Mac, that we have an Angel, that we have a Robbie, that we have a queer communion, that we have a community here that are vessels for Christ. I think it's also important to remember that before the greatest disruption in the life of Christ, there was communion. He knew one of his disciples would betray him. He knew one would deny him. He knew that one would doubt him after he overcame death. And in the midst of that disruption, he chose to be with his friends. He chose to share. He chose to accept in that community. And it's important to note that that community, that communion, has no conditions, has no qualifications. So I hope that you will join us in communion today. You will see down at the front of the stage here, and if you're up in the balcony, there are two little stations for these individual communion servings. There's a little cracker, a gluten-free cracker underneath, and there's some juice at the top. Unless you want to have the blood of Christ in your wardrobe, I recommend you get the communion wafer out first. It can be a little tricky. They are also to note that these are recyclable. So once you're done, there are baskets you can put them in so that we can dispose of them, or we will also be coming around to get it. But the most important part, beyond the cracker, beyond the juice, beyond the recyclable elements, are communion. Is this community? And the fact that no matter where you go, no matter who you are, no matter what you are experiencing in your life, or will experience, or have experienced, we are all entangled together through Christ. So please step up, grab the wafer, the juice, and please join us in this communion.